bit of resources, whole lot of need. So, start with me and end with me. That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
So where are we now? I mean, as far as resolution, opioids.
Well, I think if you really look at, you got to look at the entire food chain, from soup to nuts. So if you look back at the crack reference, like Boo just said in regards to the end product, right? So if you look back at the crack epidemic, the government was definitely tied into making money off of our failures. They didn't care nothing about our community. They cared about the dollars and cents. And since we created this new industrial complex with the commercial gelling and now being able to get this close to slavery rate, people working in these federal prison penitentiaries for no money, making Victoria's Secret lingerie and underwear. You did Clark shoes and all these other things being made in federal prison penitentiaries.
Wow.
Right? For little or no money.
Wow.
See, that's an industrial complex right there that was fed by that crack epidemic. So the government had a good play in it in regards to resources and money coming out, right? They can also tax those individuals. So they played in that game. But what happened with this opioid crisis is instead of it coming from foreign countries that they had to make deals with, you got these pharmaceuticals who are creating this drug epidemic by allowing these unregistered, uncounted for, no accountability lying in the creation of the opioids that's hitting the street.
Yeah.
But the government is not getting their cut. So what they recently did was they in turn took down a few larger pharmaceutical corporations and fined them. They didn't fine them for making the opioids. They didn't fine them for putting the opioids out on the street. They fined them because they didn't have accountability in their distribution chain, that which in turn changed their tax revenue that they were able to be captured. Okay, so it's
So
the money.
basically, like,
now.
you ain't getting my cut.
You ain't give me my cut, so I gotta cut you out. It's real simple, man. You know it's about money, and money is always about race in a capitalistic system.
And
That's just
power.
how it runs.
Power,
Money, power, always about one person underneath another.
Yeah.
So if you look at the bottom line, man, you look at the pharmaceuticals and you say the only way the government gonna get money out of that pharmaceutical is through taxes. If they can divert any of that income, right, then the government don't get their cut.
And then let me ask you this, Nate. I mean, you done had this conversation before. I believe this is only our views, what we on here, and some facts that we know.
Right.
But I don't believe money is power. And a lot of people say, "Oh, wait, money, this is the money."
Money is a means. But it ain't power.
Means.
It's a means to power.
It's a means to power.
But it ain't power.
It's part of the It's part of the infrastructure to help me gain power.
Power is just controlling of the simple environment. Wherever you sit, money is the means to control an environment that depends on money.
Exactly.
But if you got power in sex, you got power in business, you got power on your street, you got power in your home, those things don't have nothing to do with money. They got something to do with the position that you sit in and the authority that you dictate.
And on that note,
Power.
and we talking about from the top, right?
Yeah.
From the top, we talking about those who impose their will upon the earth.
Let
me just impose their will upon the earth. The number one thing, if you look at the history of these people, right? The number one thing has always been the common denominator is whoever conquer goes to spoils.
There you go.
The military is power.
That's it. So what I was about to say was in line with that, Boo. So it's real simple, man. In any situation where you have a dominance of another individual, right? It's kind of like that old adage, like you just said. You know what I'm saying? So it goes back to how can I expect the criminal to think anything other than criminally? So if you look back at the essence of colonialism and things of that nature, those folks who started this country were running and escaping from laws in another country they didn't agree with in their segregation. And they started this here country with the laws that subverted the country laws where they came from. Okay? Sounds a criminal act. It's just like, I can't get mad at you for telling my secret when I couldn't hold my secret myself. How did I tell you it? You dig what I'm saying? So when we start thinking about who's in charge who's responsible. We got to understand, even in the climate today, in our political climate, look what happened just now with these jokers going through the Supreme Court with a lawsuit that had nothing about anything other than their grip on power. You dig? Our whole institution of capitalism is all built around power and the usage of funds and resources to gain and reserve that power for collective small people that are now becoming the minority. So what's happening is anything that attacks that minority, they got to put their resources toward trying to save that minority presence. And when the opioid crisis hit the Caucasian community, which is now foreseeable by 2050 being a classic minority just by numbers, they got to do everything they can to save themselves. Because they stood around and let crack burn down our house and didn't do anything for us. But they're going to throw all their resources in the pot to keep themselves afloat. Because they can't afford to lose the numbers that they're losing because they've already been projected to be the minority. And the minority in the capitalist society and democratic society never has power unless they have one thing, and that's control. So they control the money. They now have control. And of course, we talk about conservatives. You dig what I'm saying? So even though our numbers will change and things will flip around, they put mechanisms in place to reserve their seat at the table to be the head of the table. So think about the opioid crisis as something that is endangering their position, their seat at the table. So it's just like you and I. If somebody busts into my house and I got my kids in my house, you just came here not only to hurt me, but my children. And I'm going to use every resource I can to protect my family. They are doing the exact same thing with the opioid crisis. It is now in their house, ransacking, raging, burning shit down, excuse my language. So they're going to throw every resource they can at it. It really don't have a whole lot to do with anything else. It's not about reclamation of the human spirit or any of that stuff, man. It's about simple numbers. It's about simple power structure. Plain and simple.
And where did you come up with the topic for this?
Pastor
Bonner.
Bonner.
Yeah,
I want to make sure it's right. Pastor Bonner. Shout out to Pastor Bonner. He says he's calling in, right?
Well, he has a number he supposed to, he was told.
Shout out to Pastor Bonner, man. Y'all already know what it is, man. Opioid discussion. This will be each and every week, man, right here on Phocuz Radio. You already know what it is, man. Check us out on YouTube at the B.O.C.H podcast. And also, man, Boo Jones, Nate Jenkins. Are you on Facebook?
I was till somebody smarter than me hacked my joint.
What's your social media handles? Oh.
I'm just approaching the platform, brother.
Okay.
I'm still pretty new.
You already know what it is, man, right here on Phocuz Radio. Coming up next, y'all, man in the mirror.